Okay, so I literally just had the worst, like hands down worst therapeutic experience of my life. And I've had some therapy, okay? I literally got blamed for being too difficult to understand and fired by my therapist. So let's get into this, right? Because this is almost as abusive as being with my abusive husband, quite honestly. I got a new therapist. I decided I wanted to start dealing with the grief that I haven't dealt with, start moving forward, so I got a therapist through the telehealth that my job provides me. The first meeting, she was late, a few minutes, but I thought it was a phone issue on my end, and whatever. We get 45 minutes to talk, fine. She asked what was going on. I said, well, I have to give you some backstory, and the point of the backstory was just to let her know that I'm trying to move forward from this. But it was right after my husband said that creepy ass poem about wanting to get me back, and she was like, oh, well, how did it feel? Does that make you happy? I was like, I think you're not listening to me. Like, he was abusive. I don't want to get back with him, but at the same time, she's made a big point about how she's a mandated reporter, so I'm trying to be careful how I phrase it. And so he's been going on for hours and hours, and she's like, well, why don't you just block him? And I'm like, well, we have a child together, and also if I block him, then I don't know what's coming. Quite honestly, like, I have blocked him multiple times, and either it comes from somewhere else, so it does no good, or it comes unseen, so it does no good. But also, like, we have a child together. Well, why don't you just get your kid a cell phone? And I'm like, okay, now you're really not listening. My kid is 5. He can't have a cell phone. Oh, we can get one where he can only talk to you and his dad. Well, talking to me is not an issue. He talks to me when he needs to. And talking to his dad doesn't, like... How are you not getting this? His dad doesn't contact him. His dad only ever, even a little bit, contacts me to pick fights with me under the guise of talking to him. He's no interest in talking to him. He never has. The second that he can talk to my son and have it not do anything to me, which has happened plenty of times, he stops calling. He disappears. He doesn't care. Like, this person was just not grasping it. And I was like, okay with her not grasping it. I thought maybe not the therapist for me, fine, I'll move on. I was getting ready to say that when she did make a point that was valid about me being angry, that, like, the life that I wanted didn't work out, and, you know, all this other stuff. I was like, okay, maybe she is getting something. I don't know. Maybe we're getting somewhere. And then the session ended, and it ended pretty abruptly. And she was like, well, do you want to schedule for next week? And I was like, okay, well, yeah, sure, why not? Of course I do. Like, the whole point is to get therapy, right? So a week goes by, she calls, so what's going on? And I'm like, well, you know, I thought about what you said last week about me being angry and me, like, reflecting back to what my husband did. And, like, yes, of course I was that day because I was mad, but, like, in general, it's mostly just that, like, I live a lot of my life worried about what other people think and needing validation and all this other stuff, and, like, I don't want to do that anymore. And also, as I said in the beginning, I have never grieved. And she started to say something about, like, I thought this was about the obsession with your husband. I'm like, no, this was about him writing me a creepy ass poem. That was what I told you. Wait, there was a poem? And I was like, very first thing I told you was about a creepy ass poem. And she was, okay, so what? And I'm like, she started talking about how, like, I've come up with this whole, and she's like, and where do you think it comes from? And I'm talking, you know, the abuse I told you I've gone through for years, probably. And she's like, oh, well, you know, like, vets have PTSD and blah, 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 and maybe you need to feel safe before you can even deal with this, and you have a lot of work to do. And, like, I'm like, okay. And then she just, so what do you want to do? And I'm like, that's why I came to therapy, to figure out what I want to do. And she's like, well, what do you think will make you happy? And I'm like, oh, I'm not unhappy. Well, I hear you saying that your life is meaningless and you're not happy. And I'm like, no, you need to back that up. I very clearly said I have a job and my kids and my house and school, and my life is actually full of meaning. I just don't want to worry about other people's validation, and I maybe want to agree with my husband so I can move forward with, like, some other stuff. And she's like, well, see, I'm hearing you say it's meaningless. I'm like, again, not meaningless. She goes, well, maybe unfulfilling. And I'm like, okay, unfulfilling maybe in that I'm not 100% fulfilled. I was like, I haven't gone out in the past year, I haven't hung out with friends, I haven't built a social life, I haven't, you know, packed up stuff. So yes, there's a part that's unfulfilled, so fine, we can use that. I'm, like, basically compromising at this point on, like, my therapy. And she's like, well, why is it unfulfilling? I'm like, well, like you said, I have not gone out with anybody. I have not gone on a date, and I would very much like to find a new partner. And she's like, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like I just said, I'd like to go. Well, yes, but what do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't understand what you're saying. I feel like maybe we're not connecting here. Well, I can't pick a hobby for you. And I'm like, okay, I don't need you to pick a hobby for me. I have a lot of hobbies, but none of my hobbies are getting me anywhere socially, and I don't really know what to do because, like, I tried to do like a singles thing and it didn't happen, and I tried to go to this concert and it got canceled, and I tried to go with friends and they were all too busy, and like I tried to make another plans and people didn't show up, and like after a while it got defeating. I'll admit to, oh, well, it sounds like you're depressed, and I'm like, okay, say more, we'll see if you're right. And she's like, well, do you know what Adonia is? And I'm like, I know I say it wrong, but I'm like, no, what's that? You know I do. I mean, come on, I'm about to graduate with a double degree in psychology and sociology, and I'm purposely not bringing that stuff into the conversation because I actually want therapy. I don't want to be the kind of client who's like, well, you're just wrong. I want to be the kind of client who's talking about myself from the eye. So like when she said, it sounds like your life is meaningless, and I said, no, not meaningless, that was important to me, because to me, when someone says their life is meaningless, they mean like, I have nothing to live for, dial 998 because I'm in trouble. Not, I have some issues that are not perfectly, completely, 100% happy. And she's like, well, it just sounds like you have no interest in anything. And I'm like, that's not what I said, though. Like, I do things. I go to karate, I go to yoga, I go to the gym and run, I read books, I go to school. I mean, I can't watch movies because my narcolepsy will 100% make me fall asleep. But I do things. Like, I'm not sure where you got that I have no enjoyment. Like, well, you said that your kids tell you to go out and you go no. And I'm like, no, my kids tell me go do social things, and I can't find anything social to do. So I don't bother trying anymore. I just go to the gym. And then she's like, well, okay, well, maybe you need to grieve then. Like, I said I need to grieve. And then she was, maybe you're angry. I'm like, I am angry. We already discussed that. I'm angry. Life didn't go my way. Life didn't turn out the way I wanted. I wanted my husband to be the guy that he was when we were 18, and he's not. And I'm angry. That's okay, too. I need to deal with that, too. That's why I came to therapy. Well, our time is up, but I'd like to make another observation. But maybe it's not the time for it. Maybe I should wait till next week. And I'm like, and that does what good? Because you're going to sit on another observation for another week, and then maybe you're wrong. And we find out then? Like, I don't see any point in that. I said, well, so it just seems like you are very hard to get to know because you always need to be, like, correcting the details. And I'm like, well, I don't understand what you're saying. Well, like, when I said that your life is meaningless, and you had to go, it's not meaningless. And then I said it was unfulfilling, and you're like, well, it's not. I'm like, okay, but you're supposed to be my therapist, right? So, like, you're supposed to get to know me. Like, what's actually with me. And, like, you diagnosed me as depressed based on the thought that I had no interest in things, and that's not true. You called my life meaningless, and to me, meaningless is very different than not completely fulfilling. I'm like, so I'm not trying to argue with you, but what would you have me do? Not correct you, and then you're getting to know the wrong person? She goes, no, but I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's really hard to get to know you when you're always correct. And I'm like, so again, what would you have me do? Well, maybe if you're looking for fulfillment, you need to zoom out and stop trying to find the perfect fit. And I'm like, so what you're saying is instead of trying to express what I actually feel and think, I should zoom out and, like, settle for the first thing that's sort of compatible. I'm like, I feel like that's how I got here before. And she's, well, I'm just saying with fulfillment, like, I'm like, I don't understand. Like, why would I date somebody that's not right for me just because and she's, I'm not talking about dating, I'm talking about fulfillment. I said, okay, well, I was talking about building a social life and dating because those are the only areas I'm not fulfilled in. So again, like, okay, I left out a couple parts because these are the really brutal ones. At one point, she went, oh, well, it sounds like you're dealing with a lot of no, you've been through a lot of trauma, you've been through some abuse, you've been really badly treated, you've been really hurt, you probably have PTSD, you're probably scared, you're probably in fight or flight, you should really get help with that. And I went, yeah, but that's why I came to therapy. Nope, we moved on. And then at one point she went, oh, I do get it. So you're trying to make friends at your age. But everybody's hooked up and has like their routines and their marriage and their friends and their kids, and you've been out of it because of your marriage, and now you don't have your marriage, and that must be really hard. That must be really painful for you. That was when she decided I must be depressed because I wasn't interested in anything, at which point I was like, again, no. So then we get to the whole, well, you're making it really hard for me to get to know you. It's your job. You're a therapist. You are a licensed psychologist. Not a psychiatrist, not prescribed medication. You're a licensed psychologist. I specifically picked the one person on the entire site that had a higher degree than I do, because you're supposed to be capable of doing this. You clearly have zero lived experience. But I thought maybe, just maybe, you might be capable, since supposedly you do like CBT and all this stuff, of giving me some direction on how to deal with my grief, deal with my loneliness, maybe start being social. I don't know, crazy me. Thought that maybe you might be the type of person I could talk to and be heard. Because that's what's really pissing me off, right? Is that I dared to be heard, and I was told, your desire for me to hear you is causing me a problem in my job. So maybe you should get a different therapist. Because that's what she said to me. She said, oh, our time is up. Despite the fact that she'd been 10 minutes late. So we only had 35 minutes. She went, I think at this point it would benefit you to get a different therapist. It's not my job as a patient to make it easy on you to help me. I'm not refusing to do things. You heard I don't want your suggestions because you said do a sport or join a pottery club, and I said I actually do a sport, but I am not going to join like basketball or baseball because I don't play those things. And I don't play them because I have no coordination. I have rheumatoid arthritis. I have a bad back. But I do a sport and I do interact. And then we go home because nobody there wants to hang out. And I'm not going to volunteer because I am already a 40-hour-a-week volunteer. That's what I do for a living. And pottery, I mean, I get what you're saying, take up a craft. It's not a thing around here. It's not a thing. And I don't see why I would join something that is not my thing. Not because I won't try everything, because I have, but like, and then to go, we're not talking about dating. Whoa, but we were. We absolutely were, because I said the one area of my life that's not fulfilling is my social/relationship area. That's what I need help on. If you're not going to help me with my grief, you're not going to help me with moving forward, that's what I need help with. It was too difficult for her. If she couldn't just call me depressed and write it off, then it was too difficult for her. Nobody wants you to be yourself. Nobody wants to listen. Nobody wants to hear you. I feel like this is the lesson the universe is trying to give me, right? Like, when I had the group project and I said, so am I supposed to do their work so that I stop losing points? And this is not unrealistic. I had lost points 5 times in a row, and then they said they were going to Italy. Or am I supposed to not do their work and you're going to protect my grade? And I never got an answer. I got punished. When I said to the therapist, okay, I don't understand what you want from me then. Because either you want me to correct you so you know who I am, because I don't think my life is meaningless. I'm not depressed. I do take a great deal of pleasure in a great deal of things. But I don't know how to make friends at 40. And if you say, at your age, one more time, right? I guess I was supposed to just not, so that she could feel better about herself. I'm supposed to exist so that she can feel better about herself. I mean, I definitely did need a different therapist. You know, it's just, you know, the people at the concert who went, you should sit down because your standing and enjoying your tickets is making us unhappy. How dare you make yourself happy? I don't know where this world got so confused, but I don't exist to service anyone but myself and my people that I choose. I'll bend over backwards for my friends and family. I'll bend over backwards for my kids, but I won't change who I am, and I won't lie about who I am. And if it's your job to help me be better with who I am, you need to get to know who I am. And if you have a problem with that, then you probably shouldn't be a therapist. Quite honestly. Like, you should not be a counselor. You should not be a psychologist. That's probably why you're doing telehealth unlimited hours per week. But you can't show up for 45 minutes anyway. Quite honestly. You are clearly in need of a whole lot of life experience. I'm not a mean person. If I was on a date with somebody, would I sit there and like split hairs between meaningless and unfulfilling? I don't know. But I wouldn't want to date somebody who wasn't somebody who knew who I was anyway either. Quite honestly. I'm sorry that I made it hard for you to get to know me. Was I supposed to make it easy for you to do your job? Because I tried to. I tried to tell you what was wrong. And you didn't listen. Not everything in life is like super easy. Not everything is up. You sound depressed. Go find a psychiatrist to give you a pill. I'm not depressed. Ask my kids. Ask my friends, the few that I have left. I'm not adrift to meaningless or laying in bed, or I am in some denial. I do a lot to keep myself avoiding dealing with like the physical repercussions of having a marriage, like packing stuff up, because I'm in some denial. Because I would like to believe that someday the man that I married will be alive again. I am in some level of grief that probably needed help, which is why I got counseling in the first place. Not the right counselor. It genuinely worries me, though. It does. It worries me. It worries me because I am that close to having the same degree. I don't know. It just put a really bad taste in my mouth. And I know that I should still pursue counseling, but I'm not sure how at this point I do that. Because it's, last week she was all, oh, it really was that bad. Like, I can tell just talking to you that it really was that bad. And this week it was, you're the problem for being difficult. Like, if you're saying that if I went and nitpicked like that with someone I just met on a date or trying to make friendship with them, it might be hard for them to get to know me. I agree. It might. But also, that's a different situation than somebody who's supposed to be my therapist. Someone who's supposed to hear me. Someone who's supposed to listen to me. From the second that I pointed out that she hadn't listened to me last time, she didn't remember what I said from last time. It was a straight up rap. Anyway, there's just some things I never say and do to people, and I think that's one of them. Honestly, I think it's really hard to, well, then tell me what you want me to do. Oh, you don't want me to do anything. You just don't want to deal with like difficulties in life. I'm so sorry. You were wrong. I'm not depressed. I'm not thinking my life is meaningless. I'm not in some deep pit of despair. I do think that trying to date in my 40s with like not going to the bar and not having any friends and not having any family is a difficult, somewhat desperate situation, which is what I said to you and you didn't listen to at all. You're the one who said unfulfilled. No, you're the one who said unfulfilled. You said, after I said my life wasn't meaningless, well, would you say unfulfilled? And I said, if you mean less than fully fulfilled, yes. I was actually very careful to hedge my wording, which is part of what is bothering you. Part of what you said made it hard for you to understand me is that I was very careful to hedge my wording. But that's because you kept pressing things, and I kept telling you no. And I wanted to move forward with the conversation. And you kept pressing things, and I kept telling you no. You don't want to listen. You're not a very good therapist. Your job is to listen. So anyway, I am going to take my poorly therapied butt into the store, buy some pink water powder, donuts for my kids, go home and hang out with them because they like me. And they don't think that it's a problem that I am who I am and that I expect to be listened to and heard for who I am. They kind of like it, actually. They think it's pretty cool that their mom stands up for herself. Alright, for those of you listening to me, y'all have a good day. For those of you who've been there, maybe you got some advice to share. I don't know. For those of you who've never needed therapy or never been in a bad relationship, God bless you. Alright, later, y'all.